Versatile Mage. Chapter 271. A Mutated Monster. The enormous blue beast paused on a wild grassland, where the man in the leather jacket was gliding in the air while maintaining his altitude. His figure was like a bat as he entered the senior hunter's vision, looking quite small against the background of the area. Suddenly, a strong blast erupted on the grassland. The shockwave from it caused the grass to bend 90 degrees flat as it swept through the surroundings. "Yao Nan, watch out," the senior hunter warned. "What do you mean?" "Oh hell no, he's right under me. Big guy, save him," the senior hunter yelled. The giant blue beast kicked the ground, and its hill-sized figure leapt into the air. The jump covered a distance of 1 kilometer from the edge of the grassland. It made another jump, whose figure cast a huge shadow across the place under the moonlight, landing close to the center of the grassland. The distance that it covered with 2 jumps was absolutely insane. Roar! In the midst of a powerful gust of wind, something slammed right into the winged man. He dropped rapidly at a slanted angle and slammed right into the ground, leaving a huge gouge behind him. He finally stopped after sliding a great distance across the ground. "Yao Nan, are you all right?" the senior hunter on the huge beast asked. Still alive? That guy is very strong, be careful," Yao Nan said. The test subject this time was an advanced magician. All 3 of his elements have mutated. Since he was already an advanced magician to begin with, the monster he transformed into is surely going to be more terrifying. The senior hunter said, "You should really end the experiment as early as possible. This is too scary. I can easily handle a few advanced magicians on my own, but this monster." The senior hunter did not respond to Yao Nan's comment, as he was being stared at by a pair of bloodshot eyes. The enormous blue beast was considered quite outstanding among commander-level creatures. Normally, beasts with weaker strength would shiver in fear when they saw it, but the monster did not show any sign of fear at all. Instead, it seemed ready to kill. "Yao Nan, this place is close to the railway. You should head there and keep an eye out to prevent the shockwaves of the battle from affecting the innocent," the senior hunter said after a while. "Roger, let me handle this monster." The senior hunter's gaze turned cold as brilliant star patterns appeared close to his body. Not only did the star patterns appear below his feet, but also around his body and above his head. The speed he aligned the stars was absolutely insane. Furthermore, a mysterious pattern was drawn to align the different star patterns, causing the stars to cross paths with one another like meteors. The amount of stars was enough to fill the entire sky. In the distance, Yao Nan shook his head when he saw brilliant star patterns rising up around the senior hunter and said, "A senior hunter is indeed out of my league, using an advanced magic as his first move." The moonlight reflected on the metallic surface of the white railcar. The coaches of the railcar traveled rapidly across the boundless field. It did not slow down, even when going into turns. It was leaving a white glow behind on the vast land due to its speed. Yao Nan clenched his chest. Blood could be seen from his mouth as he flapped his wings while maintaining his position above the railcar. A strong wind blew due to the insane speed of the railcar, leaving Yao Nan's hair disheveled. Yao Nan began to cast his magic. He was casting the water curtain of the water element to protect the entire railcar. "Damn it, it's coming." Yao Nan quickened his pace. The water curtain was a giant water barrier. The water screen sparkled in the moonlight, forming a waterfall flowing from the front to the back of the railcar along its roof. Deep cracks began to appear on the ground close to the railway. Some parts even began to crumble, forming a canyon as a violent quake came from afar. With a closer look, one could see the shockwave spreading rapidly from the spot where the senior hunter was fighting the monster. The railcar was at least 2 kilometers away, and it was obvious that the senior hunter was not responsible for the shockwave. It highlighted the utterly terrifying destructive force of the monster. The water curtain vibrated vigorously as the shockwave collided with it, feeling like it was on the verge of breaking. Such incredible force. How is it so strong, even when we're so far away? What exactly has the military done? Yao Nan blurted out with a hint of worry when he saw his water curtain almost shatter. The Magic Association of the capital was located inside an ancient palace, also referred to as the Magic Palace. The Magic Palace and the Oriental Pearl Tower were considered the strongest magic associations in the country, and were incredibly famous across the entire world. The Magic Palace consisted of an ancient courtyard, pagodas, sculpted hills, and arbors. The West Pagoda currently had 4 people seated around a wooden table. The person pouring tea was a middle-aged man, wearing an ancient hat. His sideburns were already turning white, but there were no wrinkles on his face. Meanwhile, the person with his hands on the table as he sat sideways looked like a fighting man or soldier, based on his attire. It was obvious from the number of badges that his achievements were quite formidable. Sitting opposite the soldier was the old professor, Chu Yuhua, who was finishing his sip of tea. Despite that, he was not really interested in the tea. What's with the matter now? None of us should be considered at fault, the half-aged man with the hat said. I'm not sulking, but it has escalated to the question of where we should draw the line. I've already made it clear that you will not get your hands on him. End of discussion. General Lu Nian, enough with your arrogance, and stop trying to proclaim that you're doing it for the country or the human race. In the end, you're only doing something that the Black Vatican would do. The chairmen of the magic associations from all 5 continents have made it clear that they won't accept it as a new magic element. What you're trying to do is demonic. You will definitely pay for what you've done. Chu Yuhua burst out, scolding the man without mercy. Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 272. Training at the Desolated City. The Black Vatican conducts experiments on evil arts and represents a huge threat to humanity. It's the truth that we all know. We have our lines, too. The test subjects are usually criminals who were given a death sentence. Although it does go out of control sometimes, we've managed to clean the mess up in the past without hurting anyone. Chu Yuhua, you're too stubborn. How could you say we're evil, too? We're inventing. In the past, there were only a few elements that existed. Our ancestors did a great job exploring and discovering new elements. Having a new element would significantly help our country, and all of mankind. Are you only going to realize how weak humans are when the demon beasts are consuming us like poultry one day? You're not the only one being irrational. Besides, magicians have an obligation to sacrifice for their country when needed. General Lu Nian held his stance. Whatever you say. All I know is that he doesn't belong to the military. You have no right to order him. I've asked Dean Xiao regarding this matter too, and he will never agree, Chu Yuhua said, showing no intention of wasting further time with Lu Nian. Alright, that's enough. It's extremely difficult for you two to meet, and you're still arguing when you have the chance. Let's enjoy the tea. The authorities will decide for us, Dean Songhe from the Imperial College, who was sitting between them, said. Dean Songhe, we should discuss the training. Chu Yuhua completely ignored General Lu's presence as he spoke with Dean Songhe. Oh. I've made the preparations. Do you still remember Jinlan City? Why does it have to be there? Training missions were extremely important for magicians who were still studying. Even if the schools did not force the students to participate, those who strove for excellence would organize them for themselves. How could they not try to gain experience if they were thinking of becoming experts? During the meeting for the exchange students, Dean Songhe represented the Imperial College to explain the details of the training mission. The students from the Pearl Institute and the Imperial College would be undertaking their mission at the same place, thus attending the same meeting. The training this time will be held at Jinlan City, located in the Yangtze Plain, Dean Songhe informed them. Jinlan City, why haven't I heard of the place before? Blurted out Qingqing, who was quite a geography expert. She was a genius with an impressive memory. She clearly remembered the name of every city in the country, but she had never heard the name Dean Songhe had mentioned. This Jinlan City is quite special. It was wiped off the map around 15 years ago, Chu Yuhua said calmly. Wiped off from the map. The students were astounded. They had never heard of any city being wiped out. Besides, what did it actually mean when a city got wiped out? 15 years ago, the area close to Dongting Lake was caught up in a great disaster. The overpopulated demon beasts swarmed toward Jinlan City, which was relatively remote. Luckily, a magician discovered what was happening while training in the countryside. He immediately asked the government to evacuate the people of Jinlan City. On the second day, the entire city turned into a feast for the demon beasts after being overrun. Those who could not evacuate in time were buried there forever. Dean Song he could not help but feel emotional when mentioning the past events. As a matter of fact, the magician who had discovered the disaster was Song he himself. However, he was not willing to share his past, as it was too much of a tragedy. When Song he mentioned this, some of the students familiar with history remembered certain records. Some records not revealed to the public briefly mentioned the disaster at Dongting Lake 15 years ago. However, no one from their generation knew about the city that had disappeared. So that means Jinlan City is a desolate city? Zhu Delong asked. That's right. 10 years ago, it was like paradise for the demon beasts. Even the magicians from the military did not dare risk annihilating them. However, according to the latest information from the hunters, most of the beasts at Jinlan City have disappeared, as if they had moved to another place for some reason. We did carry out an investigation and confirmed that the number of beasts has significantly decreased. It is not as terrifying as it used to be, Dean Song he said. So that means we'll be training at that abandoned city. I want you to collect data from the city. Dean Song he took a sip of his tea before continuing. Even though the demon beasts are gone, many species of them still wander the city. I want you to gather as much information as you can, counting the number of servant-class creatures and warrior-level creatures you encounter. Just collecting data? Shen Mingxiao asked. If they only needed to collect data, it did not seem too difficult. We are planning to write a proposal to evaluate the possibility of reconstructing Jinlan City. The Imperial College and the Pearl Institute are working together on this, so the data you collect is extremely important. To prove our point, we need to evaluate the danger of a city abandoned for 15 years. Mo Fan did not think it was an easy task after hearing the explanation. The city was incredibly huge. To collect accurate data, they would need to spread across the city. In that case, the chance of being detected by beasts was clearly higher, and they could easily find themselves surrounded. The danger level of the mission at the desolate city would be similar to the Blood Alert disaster at Bo City. It was not as easy as hiding in safe zones. If they went too deep into the demon beast's territory, it would be the end of their lives. Dean, you are asking us to count the number of servant class and warrior level creatures. What about the commander level beasts? Luo Song asked naively. Oh, if you stumble into a commander level creature, it would be quite impressive if you managed to make it back alive, Dean Song he said calmly. Everyone instantly felt a chill down their spine at his response. Basically, Jinlan City had turned into a demon beast's den, and a place like that would always have commander-level beasts. If one or two decided to move, their mission would be extremely dangerous. It was said that commander-level creatures were incredibly perceptive. Even a giant bird flying across their territory a few hundred meters up in the sky would be eaten alive. There is so much you can do on your own. I hope the students from both the Imperial College and Pearl Institute can work together to ensure everyone returns safely. Dean Song he encouraged them calmly. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 273. The Dongting Lake Horde. Dongting Lake was located close to the Yangtze Plain, in the north of Hunan Province. The Dongting Lake was not a famous tourist spot, as this particular giant lake, covering a surface area of over 40,000 square kilometers, was also one of the 3 most dangerous lakes in the country. Due to its massive size, there were many ecosystems within it, which meant countless demon beasts called it home. On top of that, The infamous giant reptile beast horde that had overrun Jinlan City treated Dongting Lake as their base camp. After taking a flight to Kangning City, the closest city to Jinlan City, the 17 students from the Pearl Institute and Imperial College had no choice but to continue their journey on foot. Along the way, Qingqing, the genius, explained the situation of Jinlan City and mentioned the horde. Mo Fan, on the other hand, was totally clueless about this world, so he could not help but interrupt when Qingqing mentioned the horde. Even though most demon beasts live in solidarity, there are quite a few exceptions, too. For example, the most common demon beasts in the southern province that prefer to stay in packs are the demon wolves. The Black Vatican might be the culprit behind Bo City's disaster, but they were actually using the demon wolves horde to do the dirty work for them. Most of them came from the demon wolves horde that resides in the Nanshan mountain range. With that in mind, the demon wolves horde is nothing compared to the giant reptile beast horde of Dongting Lake. Qingqing explained gravely. Mu Nujiao glanced at Mo Fan when Qingqing mentioned Bo City. She took over when Qingqing was not actually answering Mo Fan's doubts. Basically, we categorize the demon beasts based on their scale. For example, if the number of grown-up beasts in a group reaches 50 or above, it would be described as a nest. When the number of nests of the same species exceeds 50, it would become a pack. If there are more than 10 packs, it would become a horde. Wait, hang on a second, let me do some calculation. Mo Fan extended his fingers as he murmured, 50 beasts become a nest, 50 nests become a pack, which means a horde would have at least 2,500 of them. That's right, a horde means there are at least 2,500 beasts in the group, not including the younglings, those in the growing stage, or the aged, basically excluding those that can't fight. Mo Fan recalled the calamity of Bo City. Not counting the three-eyed magic wolves, the number of one-eyed magic wolves alone easily exceeded 2,500, not including those battling against the military outside of the safe zone. There were at least 10,000 one-eyed magic wolves for sure, equivalent to a large horde. A beast horde usually has 2,500 to 10,000 beasts, with 1 to 3 commander-level creatures as their leaders. A force like that is definitely enough to trigger a blood alert. Jinlan City was on blood alert in the past. Luckily, most of the people were evacuated in time. Otherwise, it would have been a lot worse, Qingqing said. Qingqing, it's unnecessary to give such a clear explanation. Our friend Mo Fan has personally experienced a blood alert before, so he would understand what a beast horde would look like. Am I right, Mo Fan? Luo Song interjected with a smirk. However, before Mo Fan could say anything, an icy gaze immediately locked onto Luo Song, causing him to shiver. He immediately turned around and saw Mu Ningzhu, the ice goddess of their Imperial College, staring at him. Don't you dare use Bo City as a joke, Mu Ningzhu stated in a chilling voice. Mu Ningzhu had already returned to school when the calamity took place. She did not experience it firsthand, but many people from her Mu clan were killed. The entire Mu clan suffered greatly from the disaster. Luo Song had no idea that Mu Ningzhu was also from Bo City. He immediately pulled his neck in and shut up. Mo Fan was relatively amiable, thus he did not really care what the others were saying to him. His mind was still occupied with the thought of how terrifying a beast horde would be if a pack was already so destructive. Imagine a horde consisting of 10 armies of the one-eyed magic wolves that attacked Bo City. How terrifying would the giant reptile beast horde at Dongting Lake be? If Jinlan City had not evacuated early, it would have been a worse calamity than Bo City. A horde is just a small number of the beasts in this world. If the beasts were to unite to fight against us humans, I'm pretty sure it would be the end for humanity, Zhao Mingyu added. Okay. We get it. It's really annoying that we still need to listen to your brainwashing talk when we are on a mission. Let's focus on how to arrive at Jinlan City safely. We are getting further away from the safe zone. This trip is not going to be peaceful, Liao Mingxuan said impatiently. Liao Mingxuan was right. They were around 25 kilometers away from the safe zone. The military still had patrols keeping an eye on things at this distance, but that would no longer be the case if they ventured deeper into the wilds. We should follow this abandoned railway. Song Qian was holding a map and pointed at the rails that were fully overgrown with moss. The rails had rusted with unnatural speed and were fully covered with weeds and moss. They led straight into the woods in the distance, surrounded by thorns and wild bushes. It was quite difficult to see the railbed if they were not paying attention. The railway was once part of the safe zone. Since Jinlan City had been overrun, the part that led to the city was no longer used, so it was normal for it to end up in such a state. Either way, the railway was clearly the obvious path to guide them in the right direction. They would surely arrive at Jinlan City by following it. Let's make this straight. I have always been the leader of the team. Since the school has asked us to complete the mission together, it doesn't make sense if we don't appoint a leader for the 17 of us. I'm more than happy to take the role, and feel free to give me any suggestion. I'll decide the path we take, what to do when we encounter a beast, and when we should rest. Lu Zhengge immediately expressed his intention to be the leader. Zhu Delong, Liao Mingxuan, Zhao Mingyu, and the rest of the students from the Imperial College did not seem to be bothered by his words. It's not possible for us all to listen to you all the time. We'll be following Song Qia's order instead. You two will discuss how we shall work together, Zheng Bingshao said. Sure. We can do that, Lu Zhengge said. They had come up with a basic plan, which was to follow the railway. The students taking part in the training were the elites among elites from both schools, thus their courage and strength totally outmatched the students who were in the military drills back in high school. With that behind them, they should be able to accomplish their mission with ease. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 274. Monsters in the Tunnel. The railway had been abandoned 15 years ago. Normally, it would remain hidden among the weeds, with no chance of seeing sunlight again. Surprisingly, it had visitors today. Instead of a railcar, it was a group of students from famous schools, undertaking their training mission. The path was still usable, as long as demon beasts were not treating the railway as their bed. The journey had been quite smooth until the group reached a tunnel, naturally totally dark, which looked extremely spooky. I've just taken a look at the map. This tunnel is around 1 kilometer long. Based on how frequently we were stumbling into demon beasts along the way, this tunnel is most likely used as their lair. I suggest that we find another way around the mountain instead of making any contact with the beasts when we are clueless of their species and number, Song Qia recommended to the group behind her. Aren't you being too cautious? Who cares what's inside? We should just kill whatever we see. The tunnel is only 1 kilometer long. Who knows how much time we would waste looping around the mountain? Lu Zhengge rebutted. Don't be so scared. Let's use the tunnel, Zheng Bingshao agreed, thinking it was a waste of time. There was no guarantee that they would bump into a strong beast in the mountain, or not bump into one if they detoured around. All right, we'll use the tunnel, Song Qia nodded helplessly. I'll let the rock golem take the lead. If anything happens, it will hold the danger off for a while. Zheng Bingshao summoned his rock golem while speaking. As Zheng Bingshao finished his summoning, Lu Zhengge glanced at the clumsy creature and said with a hard smile, "It isn't even an advanced level creature. You stingy shit. Well, I guess a solid creature like that is enough to clear the path for us." Zheng Bingshao scratched his head without explaining himself. The rock golem was 3 meters tall, its entire figure covered with sturdy rocks. Despite its slow movement, it was like a combination of a shield and bulldozer as it proceeded forward on the railway, clearing away the thorns and grass along the path. Those who are at the back need to be quite strong too, and it can't be a summoned beast. We need someone able to make a rational decision straight away if something happens, Lu Zhengge proposed. I'll guard our rear, Song Qia volunteered. You should leave the dangerous tasks to us. Zhu Delong intervened courteously. Song Qia did not say anything. Zhu Delong's primary element was earth, and so he was indeed a better candidate. The ones scouting ahead were Liao Mingxuan and Shen Mingxiao. Their primary element was wind, so they could respond quickly if needed. Behind them were Zhao Manting and Song Chia, both able to use brilliant light, illuminating the path ahead. It was obvious that the cave had seen no sunlight for a very long time. Zhao Manting and Song Chia had to cast brilliant light every 10 meters just to light up the place and cleanse the air around them. They could not tell if the air was poisonous, but it would be idiotic to try and inhale it, since the place was filled with foul odors from rot, dung from the beasts, and lack of ventilation. What's it look like ahead? Nothing, just some strange-looking white pieces of rocks. It must be something that was left behind because of the construction. Keep going. Zhao Zhao, stick closer to me. I can protect you in case of an emergency. Mo Fan walked in front of Mu Nujiao, as if he were a reliable man looking after a woman in need. Mu Nujiao was wearing a tight long-sleeve shirt, which wrapped around her upper body closely. The pleasant scent from her body in such an enclosed space was exceedingly attractive. Each of her breaths felt quite arousing. Mu Nujiao rolled her eyes at Mo Fan and asked, "Aren't you supposed to protect your big wife?" Mo Fan wore a half smile. Why didn't I retain my composure before, saying that in front of Mu Nujiao? When she saw his reaction, Mu Nujiao found herself asking, "How did you two meet?" "She used to be my neighbor," Mo Fan answered honestly. Her house was like a castle, with its own garden, driveway, and rows of mansions. Meanwhile, his house was a terrace under the mountain, but it could not alter the fact that they were neighbors. "So she's from Bo City too." That explains her previous reaction. Mu Nujiao recalled Mu Ningxui's attitude toward Luo Song previously and nodded to herself. "It seems like you are enjoying your time flirting with each other. Please be careful, as you might not even know how you died if something were to happen. I did hear that many intermediate magicians died after being ambushed by demon beasts because they assumed they were strong enough. Some even died to poison. Therefore, as an intermediate hunter, I would like to advise you all to stay on alert at all times," Liao Mingxuan advised, as if he were more experienced than the others. "Oh, an intermediate hunter, absolutely impressive." Mo Fan laughed. Liao Mingxuan subtly patted the head of the little hamster sitting in his chest pocket with a proud look. His eyes vaguely glanced at Mu Nujiao, looking for her reaction. Mo Fan found it quite amusing. He did not tell anyone that he was an advanced hunter, and yet this guy was showing off. His partner was even a master hunter. Since he found out that a 12-year-old loli had already achieved the title Master Hunter, Mo Fan no longer had the nerve to mention that he was an advanced hunter, since it would be too embarrassing. "Mo Fan, don't you feel like something is watching us?" Mu Nujiao asked. She had no interest in the petty competition between the boys. "Mistress Mu, don't you worry. Based on my many years of experience hunting down beasts, there's nothing nearby at the time being," Liao Mingxuan said with squinted eyes. He finally had the chance to talk to Mu Nujiao, or so he thought. Suddenly, the little hamster in Liao Mingxuan's chest pocket straightened its back and let out a cry of alarm. Liao Mingxuan's smile froze instantly. His eyes quickly scanned the surroundings. "Zhao Manting, shed some light in that direction," Mo Fan said. Zhao Manting looked where Mo Fan was pointing. With a quick wave, he aligned the stars and brought forth a beam of light. "Forward." Zhao Manting directed the light to the area beside Mu Nujiao. The golden ray lit up the walls of the tunnel, revealing black vines covering above them. The vines spread across the walls like giant spiderwebs. However, through the gaps, they could see several pairs of eyes staring at Mu Nujiao, who was the closest to them, with great hostility. "Zhao Zhao, stand behind me." Mo Fan stepped forward. Mu Nujiao was no little girl. A breeze quickly rose around her, establishing a wind path allowing her to move faster. Fire burst. Mo Fan held his palm half open as a rose-colored flame ignited there. He hurled the rose-colored fire burst at the black vines on the wall. It rapidly burned them into ashes. The light of the flames lit up the area out of reach of the brilliant light, revealing the shadows of several hunchbacked figures holding bones stained with dried blood in their hands. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 275. Waking the Beast's Nest. There were only 4 of the hunchback monsters. Since Zhang Bingshao's rock golem was clearing the path ahead, it did not detect anything out of place along the way. Therefore, Mu Nujiao, Mo Fan, and Liao Mingxuan, who were following behind, had assumed their path was clear. The tunnel was not wide at all, thus they should have been able to notice any beasts easily. To their surprise, the wall of the tunnel had already crumbled. There was a giant gap hidden by the black vines, preventing them from noticing it at the start. Luckily, while Zhao Manting was lighting up the area with his brilliant light, it had also blinded the creatures for a second. Otherwise, they would have lunged at Mu Nujiao earlier. It's the cavern slaves. As expected of a genius, Qingqing was able to identify the beasts hiding behind the vines after only a quick glance. However, Mo Fan could not have cared less what they were called. As his flame exposed their location, he immediately followed up with a lightning strike from his left hand as a gift. The tendrils of the lightning strike were like pythons winding their bodies, racing rapidly toward 2 of the cavern slaves. The violet sparkle covered their entire bodies and the shock caused them to dance wildly, as if they were at a disco. A bleat similar to a sheep's was heard, but incredibly sharp and lacking any hint of softness. The cavern slaves leapt forward furiously. One of them lashed at Mo Fan's head with the giant bone in its hand. These creatures like to smash anything alive into meat paste. Watch out for the bones, they will crush your skull instantly. Qingqing immediately reminded Mo Fan, if you have the time to speak, please lend a hand by casting a spell. Mo Fan could feel his head aching. Fortunately, Mu Nujiao was more reliable. She altered her wind path and extended it to Mo Fan to speed his movement up. Mo Fan dodged aside and saw the bone stick itself deep into the spot he was standing at. The rail that it struck instantly bent into the ground. Mo Fan could finally take a closer look at the cavern slave's appearance. It had a stooped figure with bent hind legs. However, its front limbs were incredibly muscular, and together with its wrinkled skin, Mo Fan preferred to call it ugly instead of ferocious. Who knew how long these ugly creatures had stayed single, that their arms could be so brawny? They would lash their bone sticks at anything they saw, and the limited space that restricted their ability to dodge did not help at all. Vine lash. Mu Nujiao spoke as the cavern slave was about to hit Mo Fan. There were plenty of vines around, so her plant element was super handy. She easily summoned a vine whip into her hand and struck the cavern slave's legs hard. She did not end her attack there, as she seized the opportunity to tangle the cavern slave's legs up with the vine and hang it upside down in the air. The cavern slave let out a panicking scream while waving its bone stick wildly. It had only struggled for a brief moment before several lightning wrath shocks landed on its body. A burning smell instantly filled the tunnel. Clearly, the cavern slave had paid a great price for acting on impulse, being electrified to death in a miserable way while hanging in the air. The one who attacked with the lightning strike was not Mo Fan, but the student called Ming Kong. He had used a level 3 lightning strike straight away. It was more than enough to instantly kill a weak monster which had lost the ability to defend itself. The cavern slaves where the wall had collapsed burst out screaming after witnessing the death of their comrade. The cries echoed through the tunnel. It was difficult to tell if they were cries of anger or fear. Either way, the creatures stopped their attacks. Just a few servant-class creatures, nothing to be afraid of. Let's continue forward, Lu Zhengge said in an indifferent manner after glancing at them. Zhang Bingshao nodded. However, he quickly noticed pairs of blue eyes appearing in the darkness ahead. It started with a few pairs, but a few seconds later, countless blue dots began to light up the darkness ahead, so densely packed that it would cause one's hair to stand on end. Fuck me, they were summoning their mates. Rumbling noises could be heard coming from both directions of the tunnel. Song Chia and Zhao Manting quickly cast brilliant light. As the tunnel ahead lit up, The group took a deep breath when they saw several more caves exposed as the vines disguising them were torn apart by the cavern slaves. They had assumed the vines were just covering the walls. More cavern slaves appeared, almost blocking the entire path ahead. Their blue eyes flickered furiously as the bone sticks clanked with one another, rising together with the sharp sheep-like bleating. Crap, we're right in the middle of their nests. There are caves like these behind us, too. Zhu Delong yelled. The same scene was taking place behind them in the tunnel. The black vines were too thick, so no one realized that the walls were actually non-existent. This is the cavern slave's nest. The white pieces of rocks we saw were actually the bones that they crushed. Zhao Manting realized. The group felt a chill down their spine. It's possible that they would end up just like white broken pieces on the ground. The cavern slaves were extremely cunning. They had waited for the group to venture deep into their nest before showing themselves to completely surround their prey. Those with the fire element, hurry up and burn the vines on our sides. We are being flanked from our front and rear. We don't want to get flanked from the sides too. Everyone stay closer. We need to regroup. You will lose your life once you get separated. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.